beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. Within this video I'll take you through an overview of Grainfather's S40 brewing system, as well as sharing my first impressions that have been gained after some brews and various testing before public launch. So let's get started. The S40 is the first brewing system on Grainfather's brand new line of products, the S line. Nobody at Grainfather can tell me what the S stands for, but the S line is about simple yet effective solutions that will not hit your bank account in the same way that a Grainfather G product will. Naturally, because the S line products are at a lower price, you cannot expect the same quality or features compared to a Grainfather G line product. So let's now look further at what is on offer. The S40, just like Grainfather's new G40, is also capable of brewing between 10 to 40 litres and is also a 46 litre vessel. This volume range equates to 2.64 to 10.57 US liquid gallons, which covers a big range of brewing options from small batches to 1 keg and 2 keg brews. This makes the S40 suitable for the individual and for group brews, offering the owner or owners plenty of flexibility. The measurement scale on the body of this brewing system starts at 20 litres numerically, but there is a marking below this for 19 litres. With a 1 keg batch or below, I found myself needing less than this in volume, but I filled the S40 to the 19 litre mark, as you can see here, and then removed excess water with a measured marked jug. When going for a minimum batch size, it is best to measure in with a 5 litre jug for speed. Just like the new G40, the S40 is also using a grain basket to manage liquid volumes, so as such it does not have overflow pipework. The S40 manages this through grain basket perforations that are situated at the lower end of the basket, as shown here. The perforated section at the bottom of this basket is also not removable, unlike the rest of the range of brewing systems offered by Grainfather. Another unique feature is that the basket has its own legs to seat it within the brewing system. In terms of grain capacity, the S40 is noted to have a basket capacity of 10 kilos. I'm yet to test how this relates to efficiency, but Grainfather have informed me that they have set it considering efficiency within a mash that just uses the pump. Now you may notice that I have added a question mark here. Let me show you why. Shown on screen now are the capacity sizes of the grain baskets from the G30, G40 and S40. This includes diameter, height and volume, plus how this translates into litres. One very interesting factor after seeing this information is that the S40 basket actually has the biggest volume, as you can clearly see. So based on this new information, I suspect that if a brewer was prepared to give the grain some manual stirring during the mash, then larger amounts of grain could be utilised with good levels of efficiency. This certainly would not be difficult with an open system like the S40 due to the lack of top mashing plate. I would be very clear that this is not something that I have tested yet, but the sizing of the grain basket certainly makes it look very credible. Even if we stick with the 10 kilo size, then certainly this will allow more malt per volume compared to some other brewing systems out there, including the G30, meaning stronger brews will be possible at certain levels without the need for a reiterated mash. So if you love your beer strong, this is certainly an interesting twist to the S40. It also has to be said that due to the absence of overflow pipework, the doughing in process experience is certainly easier and faster, which I really like. Also, like with the G40 design, there is an absence of top plate on the S40, meaning that the mash is very visible. Should you wish to, then you can very easily give the grain a further stir to bring efficiency even higher, or if you see grain clumping, then you can quickly deal with it. The recirculation arm for the S40 is unique to this model within Grainfather's range. By standard, it uses a wort sprayer that casts the recirculation over a wider area over your grain bed. The pump on this system is pretty strong, so I actually found myself tuning it down using the valve on the top of the pipe at points to avoid splashing outside of the system during mashing. Certainly I believe that a more trickle flow would also work well enough for efficiency, but at this point I have not tested that, but it does work with the brew tools. If you notice the mash flow starting to slow without your intervention on the valve, then this could be where the grain is starting to compact around the areas of perforation that make up the perimeter of the grain basket. A simple and fast fix is to simply break this grain up some with the mash paddle, as you can see here. In my experience so far, this was only relevant when a particularly fine grain crush was applied, but when I test, I like to push products out of their comfort zones. One area that I'm not so keen on with the mash arm is that it has a screw fitting, though I can see that it would have been much more expensive to do this a different way, and this is a budget system. Having said this, I especially like that the orientation can be adjusted to suit you. This makes it easy to set the flow wherever you want it, which is useful for transfer into a fermentation vessel, or simply moving the pipe aside when dropping in an immersion chiller, or perhaps when emptying the system after cleaning. The arm has 360-degree free movement while attached, so at least you do not need to unscrew and screw it more than once during a brew. Certainly this combination of pump and recirculation works well for efficiency, with respectable and repeatable results seen in each of my brews. When it comes to sparging, the S40 is basic but easy to use. The S40's grain basket is the only one within Grainfather's range that has its own attached handle for lifting. The rail system for holding the grain basket during sparging has its similarities to other systems, and it proves to be effective. I never actually batch sparge, but certainly a manual sparge works nicely on this system. The controller supplied with the S40 is mounted near the top of the unit, which certainly makes inputting the values easier. In order to do this, Grainfather needed the system to be dual skin, which adds some extra insulation to the brewing system in general. Unlike Grainfather's G-series brewing systems, there is no connectivity on the S40, and only one mash step can be set at one time. However, there is a preheat timer, which is a useful extra, especially when featured on a brewing system at this price point. The way this controller works is that it will allow temperature to drop by some degrees before heating back up. So for example, should you set a temperature of 65 degrees Celsius, then it will wait until 62 on the controller before heating back up. In reality, this temperature is 62.9 degrees Celsius, so you'll quickly see it move to 63 anyway. This is certainly not an issue because during our mash we are simply interested in inacting and denaturing enzymes. The temperature ranges are shown for these on screen now. These enzymes are responsible for converting starches into sugars and are active at certain temperature ranges, and are denatured quickly after higher temperatures are present. The most common mashing range these days is between 65 to 68 degrees Celsius, so you can see that this does not present an issue. The S40 has a collective heating power of 2300 watts, which is spread between two heating elements that can be selected manually via a button at the base of the unit. For lower volume brews, you may find it useful to just use the 1000 watt element for mashing to stabilise temperature, though I found that temperature did not overshoot for me even with a minimum batch size, though I must add that I did this brew on a not so warm day. This level of power is certainly high enough to offer a decent level of boil, and whilst the S40 is nowhere near as speedy as its more expensive brother, the G40, it's certainly no slouch either. Quite likely because the unit is dual skin stainless steel. This translates into reasonable ramp up times throughout the brewing range. The chiller supplied with the S40 is of the immersion type and is constructed from stainless steel. Like many of these that are supplied with brewing systems, it is what I would class as adequate, which is a different route for Grainfather, who in my opinion have supplied very good chillers with Grainfathers in the past. Having said this, naturally this is the S line, not the G line, and there just has to be compromises to offer such a package at such a price point. This chiller certainly works just fine in regular batch and double batch sizes, but its performance is quite compromised with a 10 litre batch size due to the fact that there's not much of it present in the wort. Hopefully in time Grainfather will offer a kit for the S40 that allows the use of their G-line counterflow chiller, which would be a great upgrade for sure. Here are some final words from me to conclude this. Certainly Grainfather brewing systems at this price point is a new concept for the company. Some might see the controller and think of Classtein, but frankly this is misleading as the S40 only shares the controller aspect. What you have on offer here is a brewing system that has a high level of quality compared to many budget brands. For a system at its price point, it certainly feels very sturdy, which is definitely down to the fact that this is dual skin stainless steel construction, unlike the single skin systems that are crowding the budget market these days. I have to say that I was rather surprised at this myself, and in some areas it even surpasses the G30 in quality, like the mountings of the recirculation pipework as shown on screen now. Certainly this is a very basic and thus simplistic brewing system with no real frills like you will see in other areas of the market that cannot compete with the S40 on price. However, do keep in mind that you are still getting the new Grainfather grain basket experience, which is free from overflow pipework. Grainfather certainly did not invent this method. In fact, it has been used in commercial brewing systems in various forms for a very long time. But Grainfather certainly are the first big player to bring it into the homebrew market, and I have no doubt that this will catch on further into the market in time. So yes, this is still a basic brewing system, but with this level of simplicity you also have something that is very easy to use. So as such, this is ideal for beginners, or those that simply have no interest in spending any extra money, but want the reassurance of a known service-minded brand like Grainfather. It also has to be said that this level of simplicity makes for an easy brew experience that is easy to learn and follow. I've certainly enjoyed my time with the S40 so far, and look forward to my future brews with it. I would certainly be interested in hearing what you think, along with the rest of the homebrew community, within the comments section of this video. If you have not seen it already, check out my previous video where I compared the G40 to the G30 and the new S40. Released at the same time as this video is a full overview and first impressions of the new G40 as well, so be sure to check this out too. I do hope that you found this video useful, informative and interesting. If so, why not consider liking and subscribing? For further support, you can join the channel's Facebook group, and if you would like to support the channel, then check out the channel's merchandise store, as all profits go back into the channel. Until next time, happy brewing!